Photoshop has the ability to make mirrored brushstrokes along a symmetry axis to create symmetrical drawings, radial designs, and mandalas. Now, I've created a new document. It's 5 by 7, and it's got a white background. I'm going to tap the B key to select the paintbrush, and then right-click on the brush icon in order to reset the tool. While I'm using the paintbrush, you could also use the pencil or the eraser tool. Just be careful because you want to choose a round brush or any other computational brush, but you can't use the live brush tips like the airbrush or the bristle tips or the erodible tips. They're just not supported. Okay, I'll click on the butterfly icon in the options bar and I'll choose the vertical symmetry. I could rotate this or reposition it, but I'll just tap enter or return. Now, as I start drawing on the right side here, you can see that it's mirrored on the left-hand side. All right, let's undo that by using Command Z on Mac or Control Z on Windows. I'll return to the butterfly and this time choose the dual axis and again tap return or enter in order to apply that transformation. Now we can see that it's going to mirror along two different axes. So it's just really depending on what you're after. All right, I'll undo that as well. Returning to the butterfly icon, this time I'll choose radial. So this is going to create multiple copies around a radial axis, and I can increase the segment count. Click OK. Tap return or enter to apply the transformation. And now when I paint, you can see that it's creating multiple copies around that radial axis. Again, I'll use Command Z or Control Z in order to undo that, and we'll move to mandala. Again, I'll increase the segment count and tap return to apply that, and then enter to apply the transformation. So now, not only am I going to create multiple copies around the radial axis, it's also going to mirror them. I'm going to use a little bit smaller of a brush using the left bracket key, and then start painting. We can see that not only are multiple copies being created around that radial axis, they're also being mirrored. Okay, I'll undo that as well. Now I want to do something a little bit different. I want to fill the background color with a gradient. So I'm going to tap the G key, and from the gradient preset picker, I'm going to select one of the preset gradients. I want to make sure there's some variance in it, so I'll select this one here, and I want to set it to be the radial gradient. I'll click and drag out from the center of the image to fill the background with that radial gradient. Then I'm going to create a new layer by clicking on the new layer icon, and I'm going to fill that with black using the keyboard shortcut Shift-Delete to bring up the fill dialog box and fill with the contents set to black. Then I'll create a mask by clicking the mask icon at the bottom of the layers panel. That gives me a white mask. I'm going to tap the B key again to select the brush, and I need to paint with black. Again, I have a very, very small brush. I'm going to use that same symmetry axis here in order to paint. But before I start painting, if I want to make a little bit of a smoother stroke, I might want to increase the smoothing percentage. Now this might slow down the stroke, but it's going to give me a much smoother looking line. Because I'm painting in the mask, Photoshop is hiding that black layer, and we're able to see the contents of the background, in this case, the gradient that we created below. If I want to hide the axis, I can choose that from the list here. And if you ever want to create your own, you can draw your own paths and then select the paths here and use those for the axes.